The following is a Hoop Ball presentation. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast.
There are certain days during the post-mortem season where you gotta manufacture the energy a little bit. You know, there's certain days where you wake up and you're like, oh, outstanding, we get to cover the, I don't know, insert team here, the Sixers or the Rockets or the, I don't know. Insert team here. And then there's other days where you wake up and you're like, what team we got today? The Mavericks. Aw, man. But that's okay. That's okay. We're still going to make it fun for you. Welcome to Fantasy NBA Today, everybody. Dan Besbris, Neil Rochlani. It's Sports Betting Tuesday, but we don't have a whole lot to bet on these days. Neil, what's going on, man?
Hey, how are you? I'm doing well. Good to be back on. I heard the show today. You guys did the show yesterday. God bless. I keep screwing that up. You guys did the Wizards, so it's only up from there. So I think we're fine.
Is it though? Because at least the Wizards they had like a Thomas Bryant who we could kind of get excited about in fantasy circles, and there were these weird little weeks where, you know, Trevor Ariza went big when he got traded, and they played no defense, so there was something there. Dallas was not great from a fantasy standpoint.
Not great, but there are two big pieces that we have to try to project for next year.
Yeah.
And those are going to be fun. Those are going to be really fun.
We're going to dive into those here momentarily.
Yeah.
First, want to let everybody know you can follow Neil on Twitter at BallWithNeil, BallWithNeil. I am at Dan Besbris on Twitter. This is, of course, a Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee and Hoop Ball presentation at HI Kona Coffee. So you can find them on Twitter. HawaiianIsles.com is the website. You can also search for their stuff at Amazon. We'll loop back around and talk more about our good buddies over at Hawaiian Isles here in a minute. I should have used that at the opener and say, hey, the only thing that can wake us up enough to talk about the Mavericks is a cup of Hawaiian Isles Kona coffee. You need to have caffeine injected directly into it. So that's why we're manufacturing the energy on this show. But Neil, you mentioned a key player on the Mavericks that's only set to make I think $7.5 million next year on the qualifying offer, although I guess they can probably ratchet that up a little bit. And that, of course, is Kristaps Porzingis. We're not going to bury the lead on this team. We're going straight to the man who did not play this most recent season, has not shown the ability to stay on a basketball court, but damn it, when he's out there, he is something fierce. You obviously can't talk about what happened this last year because his last 10 games occurred in February of 2018. But we can try to project towards the future. Can he make it through a season? What sort of numbers are we looking at in Dallas? Would you dare draft him? All of these questions are important with a guy of his ilk because his ceiling is so high, but the floor is dangerously low. You like that? I felt pretty good about that.
You manufactured that very well. Yeah, I liked it.
Thank you. All right, so what do you got?
Oh, boy. He's the most interesting piece to me to try to project. Because, like you said, the variance is so high on him. I am actually going to be a little bullish on him going into next season if he's healthy. Well, that's a big caveat. We're going to have to see how – obviously, I usually don't draft till right before the season starts, so we'll see how he looks in preseason. Assuming he is going to get starters minutes and assuming he is healthy enough and he looks just fine, I don't know where I'm going to rank him, but I think he's going to be undervalued going into the next season.
Yeah, he kind of has to be.
Yes, that's why I like him.
Yeah, boy, but this is like the man. Neil, I gotta compliment you, man. You really brought your stones to today's podcast because you gotta have a serious set on you to go get Kristaps Porzingis. This is a guy that in 3 seasons now has played 186 games. That's an average of 62 games a year. And that's including 72 his rookie season, where he only played 28 minutes a game. He's a very large man, and he's a little woolly mammoth-like right now, where he's almost too big. What do you project? Okay, so I know you're a numbers guy. So how many games do you want to get out of him this coming year? Because I know you're not going to draft him and say he's going to play 80. That's just not happening, right?
No, I'd probably think around mid-60s.
And that's still enough for. Okay, so where would you?
Well, no. I'm not going to take him in the first. I'm not going to take him in the first 3 rounds.
Aha. Okay.
Do you think he'll get drafted before then?
I don't know. I honestly don't.
Yeah.
Are we talking, okay, forget rounds. Let's just talk sheer numbers here because,
Yes.
you got 10, 12, 14, whatever team leagues.
Yeah.
When he was on the floor a couple years ago, he was a top 20 guy, right?
Yes.
23 points a game, 6.5 rebounds, 0.8 steals, 2.4 blocks. He's one of those rare guys that was averaging over 3 defensive stats a game, 2 3-pointers a game. Not a great field goal percent because he's not all that close to the bucket, but a solid free throw shooter for a big man at around 80% on decent volume for his career. These are second round type numbers with first round upside, but he only played 48 games that year. So where does that balance out for you? If you expect him to play 65 games, what sort of okay, let's get to the other side of the numbers game then. What sort of points, rebounds, steals, blocks, what are you looking at from those more counting numbers?
I'm looking around 20 points a game. I have to go back and look. Maybe the rebounds around. Would you say it was when his peak year 12.7?
Peak year for rebounds was 7.3 actually. His rookie year.
Yeah. So let's go. Let's go with that. With Luka next to him, getting all the triple doubles. And maybe 2 blocks a game. I'm probably going to value him in the 40s. So maybe I'm actually.
You're probably reasonable, is what you are.
No, I think I might be assuming he's going to really fall. Maybe he won't. Maybe people will scoop him up in the second round, which is nuts. I'm thinking 4th round, I want him, but maybe he'll be gone by then.
That's a reasonable risk, right? Because if you take him in the fourth round and things even break medium his direction, he could be a 3rd round guy. If they break far in his direction, he could be a 2nd round guy if he stays on the court. And then if the floor falls out and he only plays 50 games again, you're still looking at probably like a top 75, top 80 guy, just because the numbers he puts up in those 50 games are going to be robust. So he's not a guy that passed the ball much, so that's not really something that's going to take a hit in Dallas. He's going to have a lot of freedom with that team because really the only other offensive player on the Mavericks is Luka Doncic, right? Or are we counting Tim Hardaway Jr.?
I'm not counting on Tim Hardaway.
You're mean, Neil.
No. I mean, I've had him before, and it's just this. Well, I'm not counting on him for fantasy value. He may score a lot of points. We'll see how it plays out. I have to assume. I don't know if you have their cap numbers. They have to get someone else, though, right?
I do. I'm glad you brought that up because I do. I have a window open with this data which is good for us because we actually got news on Monday that Dwight Powell was not exercising his player option for $10 million, which surprised the hell out of me because he doesn't seem like the guy that's going to make $10 million a year out on the open market. I guess the hope for him is that he's going to get, a 3-year deal for like 21, which is obviously a lower per season value, but 21 million is more than 10 million, even if it's spread out over a couple of years. By the way, side note, Neil, a couple of friends of mine said, Dan, how much money would you actually need to not work a day the rest of your life? The answer is significantly less than these guys are making.
I know, right?
I mean, if you invest $10 to $20 million properly, you basically don't have to work anymore, and you can have a decent life. But we don't need.
You can do it for much less.
Yeah.
Personally, but that's just me.
Yeah. You're good at this stuff. I mean, you could literally put your money in CDs if you had $10 million and you'd have a decent salary. Anyway, not the point. He's doing what's right for him. That's fine. I would have thought someone of his age would probably take the $10 million and then go out there and try to get a 2-year $14 million contract after that, or 3-year $20 or whatever. But he's taken what he thinks is an avenue to more total money now. And that's fine. But it also does, for our purposes, kind of free things up a little bit because he was one of the guys that I wanted to bring up. He had a really nice end of the year, did Dwight Powell. So let's just talk about him since he's disappearing from the Mavericks picture. He was going to be making $10 million with this team. He's not now. He was very good when they turned him loose down the stretch. He ended up as a top 125 guy in 9-cat, obviously lower than that in 8-cat, and much better than that over the final couple months of the season. I don't see him landing in a spot where he's going to play 30 minutes a game, though. Do you?
No, I think I saw. Did you tweet that out earlier today?
I did. Yeah,
I did. I think I saw that. Yeah, I totally agree. I don't see where he's going to go, and I don't see where he's going to make $10 million a year. I know it only takes one team, but they really didn't win with him on the court. So
No, they also weren't trying to.
Yes, they weren't trying to. That's a good point. But I don't think he really contributed that much to making the team better. So I don't know where he goes, and I don't see him having any value unless he's playing that 30 minutes a game, which I can't see him being a starter anywhere. Unless it's like New York, unless it's like a team that's just like Cleveland or something. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't see it.
Yeah, and he's not, in my estimation, he doesn't feel like he's old enough to do the, like, go win a championship thing. I guess he did. He was a 4-year college guy, so he was drafted in 2014, and he was already, like, 22, 23 years old at that point. He's sort of an older, young guy in the NBA, if that makes any sense. He's only been in the league for, 5 seasons now, but he's already... I mean, he'll be, let's see, 28 on opening day this coming year. So he's in his prime. I don't know. The whole thing doesn't make any sense to me. It's too young to go championship chasing, too old to be kind of a project guy. He sort of is what he is at this point, I think. And yeah, I mean, his fantasy value came this last year when Dallas gave him 32 minutes a game, and that's probably not happening. So we can more than likely shelve Dwight Powell until further notice. So now with him off the books, Tim Hardaway Jr. is, as of this moment, the highest paid Dallas Maverick at $18 million a year. Courtney Lee is the second highest paid Dallas Maverick at $12.8 million a year. So those two guys are combining to make about 31. Luka Doncic is going to be around 8 this coming year, so that's about $39 million. A combination of Justin Jackson, Jalen Brunson, Ray Spalding. I think those guys, you roll them all together, it's about $5 or $6 million. And I guess there's a kid named Ryan Brokoff on that team. I don't even know if he's still going to be on it this coming year. I think that put him around 44, if I'm doing my math right, and that's before they do whatever they do with Kristaps Porzingis. So presumably he gets himself a very large offer. That gets them up to, 70-something? And that still leaves them enough room to sign something. I don't know if it would be necessarily another max guy or what. They have about 7 guys on the team at that point, so they might need to round it out a little bit. So they do have some money. They are not that hamstrung. Courtney Lee's money comes off the books. After this coming year, Tim Hardaway Jr. would have another one after that. So they do have some wiggle room, but I forget why we were talking about that. Where were you going with the salary?
Talking about who else are they going to add to help round out the statistics, like the scoring and the other stat set.
We haven't heard much about them chasing any big-name guys, which makes me think they don't have...
They tend to be a free agent... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, please, go.
I was going to say they tend to be, though, an organization that does try to really improve their roster. They really... it looks like Cuban is someone who's trying to always win. I don't think they're going to tank this year, right? So I think he's going to try to get, if not a max player, someone of that caliber, someone close to that caliber.
But who? I mean, we've heard nobody linked to Dallas.
There's been no discussion. And I don't know if that's just they've been better at it this year or they're not doing it. I have to imagine they're going to go after someone. You know what I mean? Like, usually it's like all over the press, like you said.
Well, if they don't go for someone, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 7 guys on the roster for this coming year. That's not even enough to field a team. So they got to go after somebody.
Yes. And I don't know who the heck it's going to be.
No, nor do I.
It's not Durant, obviously. He's not going there.
No, he's not.
That'd be interesting. Yeah.
So, we'll obviously reassess this team when we find out if anybody decides to sign with the Dallas Mavericks. As it stands right now, the combination of Tim Hardaway Jr., Luka Doncic, and Kristaps Porzingis figures to take probably 60 of the team's 80 field goals every night because there's literally no one else to shoot. There's nobody else. So,
well, okay, yeah. Last year there was one fantasy relevant player on this team. That's how the dearth of fantasy.
And
players.
Even that guy was a little bit of a stretch, at least in 9-cat. Now, 8-cat, he was obviously much more fun.
Right. He was like, 90-something in 9-cat?
Yeah.
Wasn't that great?
And that was after he went nuts down the stretch when they really just shut everybody down and said, here, go get triple-doubles every night. That boosted him quite a bit. And, I mean, he was outside the top 100 for the first 4 months of the year.
It's his percentages that are killing him.
Mm-hmm.
And if that doesn't change, that's why I'm probably going to avoid Luka this year. His hype is going to be off the charts.
Off the charts. Can he fix some of these things? Because he is still a very young guy. He was born in 1999, which makes me feel like an unbelievably old human being. He's he's 20. I mean, he's going to be 20 on opening day. That means that he has to go ask who the hell is on this team even. He has to go ask Tim Hardaway. Courtney Lee's got to get him like a 6-pack at the store when they're on the road. Hey, Courtney Lee, can you do room service? I got to get a tiny bottle of champagne and I can't order it. So there has to be room for a ton of improvement here, though, right? So the question becomes, what can he do in year 2? Can he fix his percentages? Because even a little bit would go a long way with him. Because he was a high volume 42.5% from the field. He was a high volume 71% at the free throw line. If he gets those to 43.6 and 76% respectively, his 93 becomes like a 60 like that. The other stuff wouldn't even need to change, but the question is, can he do it? And I don't know. I'm afraid of young guys.
Yeah, I know you are. And I'm bullish. I just don't. Well, yeah, I don't think the other stats are going to change that much. Let's just start there. Like 21 points, 2.3 3-pointers, almost 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.1 steals, 0.3 blocks. Maybe those go up marginally, but I don't really see those changing. It's only the percentages, and then for 9-cat, the turnovers may be coming down. I think a percentage point on field goal percent, I don't think I'd project anything more than that. I mean, could he get to 45% shooting? Of course, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, probably not.
I'm not going to believe it until I see it. And then the free throw, that's just really bizarre. Because guys, he's not someone who you would expect to shoot this poorly. You would expect him to be like around 85% free throw shooter with his shot making ability. I just don't. So that seems to me like it's more mental. So I'd have to, and the preseason is going to be too small of a sample size. So I don't think I can project it getting much better.
And there's almost no way he falls far enough for those of us who are in any way reticent about him to get him on draft day. Because you and I are having this discussion like, well, what if he does this? What if he does that? The people that are drafting Luka Doncic, and God love you, it might work out. There's a very real chance that he does improve in some of these categories. But the folks that are drafting him are not doing it by parsing these little percentage point increases that you and I are talking about. They're doing it because it's like, Luka's bleeping exciting. I love this dude. He's off the charts in points, rebounds, and assists, and I don't care about the other stuff. I mean, he's a dominant player in points leagues.
Yes.
The problem is that all the categories that that they don't count in points leagues are the things where he's getting crushed. Field goal percent, free throw percent, and then sometimes turnovers. He's brutal in all three of those. So I think the conclusion that you and I are coming to on this one, and I think that I'm reading you properly, you've been pretty clear, is he would have to fall a lot farther than he's going to for you and I to touch him. We don't hate him. He's just not going to fall that far.
Oh, no, I have a poster of him. I'm on my wall.
Yeah.
He was born, yes, many light years after me. But yeah, I don't. I was going to say he reminds me of Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons really got overvalued because of his counting stats.
Yeah,
and his percentages weren't good, and then his free throw percent was not good, and he had no 3-pointers, which people kind of forgot about. And that's kind of with Luka. Luka's obviously a great player, and I think obviously better than Ben Simmons. But in terms of his popularity is really the counting stats, and that's just less than half the stats that we're looking at.
I can't even focus on what we're talking about anymore, because now I have this really weird image rolling in my head of you like Steve Buscemi at the end of Happy Gilmore, when you sit back on your couch and you put on the lipstick, except you're like leaning over and kissing the fat head of Luka Doncic. I can't get it out of my head, Neil. We need to talk about.
I have not seen Happy Gilmore. So
sorry. Did I say Happy Gilmore? I meant Billy Madison. It's okay.
Oh, I've not seen either of those movies.
Come on.
I am not a dumb comedy guy.
No. This relationship is over. You no longer get to kiss the Dan Besbris fathead that I sent you for the holidays. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I know this is getting weird real quick. All right. So the big names are Doncic and Porzingis. Fine. That's fair. There's other weird little peripheral pieces, like a Tim Hardaway Jr., who also has some pretty glaring holes in his fantasy game. He ended up as number 132 this year. And a lot of that's because he's a high-volume, terrible field goal percentage guy. There's almost no way that that's getting fixed next year, right? I mean, like, even if he has really high volume, I don't know that that necessarily makes him a better fantasy player.
He's never been a great shooter, and that's the problem. And if he has the green light to take all those shots again, it's just going to kill you field goal percent-wise. I mean, I try to play most of rotisserie leagues, although that seems to be changing because of the nature of what's out there. But he's a category killer, so I'm going to avoid him almost at all costs.
So who the hell are we going to end up with on this team?
I know. That's what I was going to ask you. So the one guy who is interesting, maybe that's too strong of a word.
Courtney Lee? Are you about to say Courtney Lee?
No. I was going to say the rookie out of Villanova last year.
Is that Brunson? Jalen Brunson.
Yeah. Do you think he gets any more? If he gets high 20 minutes, I think he could be worth a late round.
Yeah, that's a mess down there, man. There's so much that's going to happen between now and opening day. There has to be because their payroll is low.
Yes.
They have, like I said, they've got like 6 guys on contract right now, and 2 of them probably are not really slated to play. So then you're looking at Brunson, Justin Jackson, who they got from the Kings, and then, sometimes played, he sometimes didn't. Who the hell knows with that situation? And then you've got the other guys. You got Hardaway, Lee, Doncic, and Porzingis. I almost wonder if the Mavericks expected Dwight Powell to pick up his option because, Maxi Kleber, they could bring him back, but he's not officially signed for this coming year. Dorian Finney-Smith, not on the books. Trey Burke, not on the books. Salamadri, Devin Harris, J.J. Barea, Dirk. We don't know if is he officially done? He sort of left it open a tiny bit. Is he actually retired? Probably. I'm not even going to mention Zach Randolph, although he technically also came off the books. Do any of these guys come back? I've got to assume they do. The question becomes, Neil, which of them actually return? Like, what if Maxi Kleber comes back? He would basically be the only other big man on the roster besides Doncic. Wouldn't he have to play a little bit at that point? I don't know, really.
Yeah, but he's one of those guys that can disappear on the court in terms of stat sets. I think he might help a team get better, but I don't think he's not somebody who really gets much in terms of points, like on a per minute basis, his points, rebounds, and doesn't really get any blocks. Well, he does do 1.1 blocks. So I should take that back. But
be ugly.
No assists, and I'm not a big. I know you talked up a little bit last season as we're coming down the stretch. I was never a Kleber guy, so I'm not going to target him.
Yeah,
even if he's starting, which I can't imagine he's starting on this team.
Yeah, and he's probably not. This is a goofy one, man. And this is why I said we had to manufacture the energy a little bit with the Dallas Mavericks, because there's a couple of interesting names on this team, to be sure, but they're probably all getting snapped up multiple rounds before any of us are looking at it. I don't know what we can say. Sometimes, you know what? Screw it, Neil. I'm getting the sign and I'm putting it on the treehouse. Can you help me hang this sucker?
Oh, no Mavericks allowed.
No Mavs allowed.
Holy, I can't believe I'm here for one of these.
Yeah, welcome.
This is a big one.
You're allowed. Neil's are allowed in the treehouse.
No, maybe. Millhouse? Can you come?
No homers. Here's the thing. Like, if somebody was like, "Hey, Dan, would you like Kristaps Porzingis for this pack of bubble yum?" I would say yes. But it's going to be...
so let's go back to you. Did you say where you would take Porzingis? I don't think I heard.
It would probably be... Yeah, I could get on board with your 40-something. That's why when you said it, you were like, maybe I'm not being bullish. And that's why I said, no, I think you're being reasonable. I think that's a reasonable spot to go for him. 40s, maybe between like 45 to 55 was probably where I was looking. There's so much risk attached to it. And I'm not sure that this Mavericks team is going to win that many games this coming year. So... that makes me a little nervous about February, March, and April again, because you're right. I don't think they start out the year tanking, but they sure as hell finished it tanking this last year. What pick did they end up getting in the lottery? I already forgot. I only paid attention, but the Lakers getting 4th.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know. But did they trade it to Atlanta? I think it's gone to Atlanta, isn't it? With the Trae Young trade or the Doncic trade?
Oh, yeah, they may not have their thing anyway. You're right. I think it went to Atlanta with the 10th. 10th pick went to Atlanta. So they don't even have one. So No Mavericks allowed is looking... All right, so maybe that's not fair, because that's a sign I reserve for teams that legitimately have no one that I wanted on my fantasy team. I would love to have Kristaps Porzingis. I'm just not going to be able to afford him.
He is going to be ranked probably higher than 4th round, I'm guessing, now that I think about it.
All right, we got to talk betting. Let's do some kind of betting. I know there's not much going on right now.
I'm tired of talking about Kristaps.
Yeah, enough Mavericks, enough of this schmaltz. Don't worry, Neil. Next week we have the Heat, so it only gets easier from here.
Oh, that'll be fun.
God, the Heat. We've got the Nets. By the way, here's if you want to listen to last week's, Neil and I covered the Suns last Tuesday. We got the Mavs on this one, obviously. Heat, Nets, Jazz, Blazers. That's the next 4 Tuesdays in a row here in post-mortem season. I'm not that excited about the Brooklyn Nets discussion. Heat, yeah, that should actually be fun because surely they must have somebody coming off the books. I think they had the highest payroll in the NBA if they actually bring their guys back, and a lot of them are on player options. Ooh, they're a mess, Neil. They're a mess. Chris Bosh, I think, is the only contract coming off the books, and I think they had a waiver on him anyway. Yeesh. Wait, no, Ryan Anderson was a team option, so I guess technically he's going to come off the books as well. Heat are in an unenviable salary cap position, but we'll save that for next week. I want to find something to bet, and I can't, so I need you to help me. Milwaukee is a minus 650 favorite with a 2-1 lead in Toronto. I mean, problem with saying, well, why not take Toronto is probably should have done it at 2-0 if you were going to do it. This feels like you kind of missed the boat on both sides at this price.
Well, I jumped on the boat at 1-0, so
all right.
Not really going so well. I got my plus 320, which is not. I think they're back at plus 390 now.
Yeah,
I don't know that. Yeah, so yeah, I was wrong about that one.
I don't know. That series is a long way from over.
You think so?
I think.
I feel I mean.
Yeah, the Bucks look better. They do.
The Bucks. Yeah, I mean, it looks more one side than I thought. How about that? The Bucks definitely look a better team. So I would be surprised they lost it. Yeah, what can you bet on?
Individual game, I guess. Bucks are -2 on the road at Toronto. A total of 216. I think Toronto might actually tie this thing at 2. They got a shot. I mean, they didn't play particularly well in that last ball game either. Neither team did, and then they were able to sneak it out. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm touching either of these things. I might look at the under, if anything at all, under 216. That's the only thing I look at
for this next game. Yeah, I guess that's possible. But I think they might shoot better. One thing I wanted to talk to you about was I heard you today on VSiN.
With my guy Gil.
Yeah, and I think did Gil mention it? I don't know if it was on your segment or not, but he said that if Durant's not playing, Milwaukee might be the favorite in the finals.
Yeah, he had he had it as pretty close to a pick 'em, or he had Milwaukee as a slight favorite. I was doing that show, watching Moana with Asher sitting in my lap, so it was I couldn't look anything up while we were talking. But he did say, "Hey, the futures that I'm seeing right now, Golden State is -140 to win the championship, with the assumption I think that they'll be playing Milwaukee is the number that he was talking about." And I said, "Oh, that kind of sounds like maybe they're expecting Durant is not going to play." And he said, "No, I think that means that he is." And then I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I guess Milwaukee has home court. If Durant is out, I think Portland was actually a favorite on their home court in that last ball game. It was pretty close to a pick 'em. So Golden State got slighted a little bit when KD went down. So it's quite possible that could basically be like a pick 'em series if there's no Kevin Durant. Perhaps I was overestimating what they would do if Golden State was healthy. I thought they'd be more like -170, 180 if they were totally healthy. But it's quite conceivable that I'm off on that one. Yeah,
I'm surprised. If Golden State is somehow an underdog going into the finals, I would jump on them in a second. Yeah. I know it's maybe they're going to lose, and I'm actually going to be rooting against them, but I would have to bet on them if they're an underdog. I don't see how.
That would be pretty crazy. I mean, boy, I would assume that how could you make Golden State an underdog unless you're just begging people to bet on them at that point?
Yeah,
is it possible that another team could have the money coming in on them to force Golden State to an underdog position? I just can't imagine that's happening. That's why I think that, in my opinion, that's why when he said that number to me, my first thought was, oh, that's got to be no Kevin Durant, because the Warriors are always overvalued against basically everyone except for the first round of the playoffs last year when I think Steph was out, right? When Steph sitting a series and they were a little tiny bit undervalued because everybody thought the Rockets were going to go through and win it. That's the last time I can remember Golden State being a bargain on a series price.
Right.
Also of note, by the way, and I don't know if Gil mentioned this later in the show, but he was texting me about it, and it's a really interesting stat. This is one of the first times that he can remember, and maybe somebody else listening can think of another opportunity or a situation where this happened, where the Warriors are actually cheaper to win the finals when they get to the finals than the opening tip of the NBA season. They were worse odds than minus 140 on October 17th or whatever it was than they are today. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's why I also don't like future bets on winning things like that, just in general in sports. I think teams are always – a lot of it tends to be sucker bets. Anyway, I'm very surprised that that's the case because they look as dominant as they ever have, in my opinion.
That's wild. Well, okay, so like –
I know Milwaukee obviously looks like the best team out of the East since who knows when. But the Warriors are the champions, and they've got – Draymond Green is a machine. It's ridiculous. So,
but I don't even care about the actual performance of the team right now. I'm just thinking of the fact that there was so much question mark on opening day of what could happen over the course of a season. There's all these things that could go wrong between October and April, and they were basically like a 2-1 favorite, so 1-2 effectively. And now, here they are, having made it effectively to the finals, and they're cheaper. You never see that happen where it's cheaper to bet on a team to win the finals when they're in the finals than they are 7 months out. Obviously, some of that is
logical sense. I guess it's all about where they think the money's coming from, right? Is that it?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. The world was just so certain that the Warriors were going to win the championship in October that they became prohibitively expensive. And now here we are, I guess some money's coming in on other stuff. That's kind of why I thought maybe that meant that Kevin Durant was out for that minus 140 number. But, I guess we'll know when we get there. It's tough to do anything with that stuff when we don't know if he's going to be playing or not. Neil, any final thoughts on the Dallas? I'm not even going to. Any final thoughts on the Dallas?
I am leaning towards taking Milwaukee in the money line tomorrow.
Interesting. Screw the -2. Just let them win it outright. It's probably not much. What's the money line?
No, it won't be much different. So I just take the win.
All right, fair. Yeah, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. He is Neil Rochlani at Ball with Neil on Twitter. I'm at Dan Besbris. This is your Tuesday edition of Fantasy NBA Today. Once again, a big thank you to our buddies over at Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee Company. Go to HawaiianIsles.com. Just punch it into your browser today. Look around a little bit. You don't even have to buy anything. Just look around. Look at all the beautiful pictures of Hawaii and the delicious bags of coffee that are floating around your computer screen. And then try not to buy something. I dare ya. The rest of the week, tomorrow, you've got me solo. I'm talking Pelicans with Brandon Marcus in Italy for a week. So surely he wishes he was here talking Pelicans with me. Neil, you've got the Grizzlies on Thursday. Adrian's got the Wolves with Coach on Friday. That's the rest of the week here on Fantasy NBA Today. Neil, a pleasure, my good man.
Yes, a big pleasure. Thanks for letting me come back on.
Oh, my God. This again.
I know.
Yeah. You're literally hosting a show 2 days from today.
I understand.
He's Neil. I'm Dan. Have a great Tuesday, everyone. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.